The World Bank reveals that Nigeria's economy is unstable despite its recovery from the adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The UN chief urges governments to heighten mitigating measures amid the increasing effects of climate change. And farmers in Uganda have turned to locally made manure as cheaper alternatives to the chemical fertilizer. Well, this and more coming your way on The World Today. This is Eyeafrica TV, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for coming along. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in details. Now, the World Bank has said that the economic outlook of Nigeria is shaky and investment interest is on a decline despite its recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 global pandemic. The prevailing economic situation is said to be fueled by the Russia-Ukraine war, insecurity and inflation in the West African country. Nigeria's central bank has since initiated measures to minimize high inflation, but some experts have expressed concern against the NCB move. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Nigeria's economy bounced back from the COVID-19-induced recession as it recorded a 3.6% upswing in 2021 and expects a growth of 3.2% this year. Despite the recovery, the World Bank says the economic outlook of the West African nation is shaky and investment interest is on a decline. Inflation, insecurity, and the Russia-Ukraine conflict are some of the top drivers of this uncertainty.
Once you are having a political transition and at the same time you are facing challenges of inflation and will also looking at what the Central Monetary Authority is doing to control inflation, you know that the economy is uncertain.
Where the issue is on the revenue, that we're only recording 8% of our government revenue to GDP is only about 8%. It should be 15% or more. The average should be 18%. At the moment, we will have the revenue just about meeting the cost of debt service.
Amid the worsening impact of the conflict in Eastern Europe and reclining investments, Nigeria's central bank hiked interest rate to a record 15.5% to tame inflation, which has surged to a 17-year high. But experts believe this is a disincentive to domestic investors. That's amid the depreciation of its currency. The Naira continues to discourage foreign investors.
Raising MPR and raising cash ratio by the central bank is not going to help borrowing, because when the cost of borrowing is high, then definitely the cost of production will be high. And at the end, prices will be high and inflation is going to be high.
The high inflation in our countries, Nigeria is 20.6%, means that they cannot get enough revenue from interest to compensate for high inflation rates. And then getting plus the uncertainties caused by war all over the place. So they are going back to dollar.
The report by the Washington-based bank also says welfare in Nigeria is worsening. Economic watchers say that the current economic shock is not peculiar to Nigeria alone, but they're urging government to intensify diversification efforts, build infrastructures, improve local production capacity in order to reduce imports, fostering policies that would give the economy the much-needed boost.
Now, moving on, the United Nations Secretary General has been reiterating calls for governments and world leaders to speed up efforts to mitigate climate change issues around the globe. Antonio Guterres said the collective commitment to G20 governments is coming far too little and late, saying actions of the wealthiest, developed and emerging economies simply don't add up. Let's have more details of that in this report by Mariama Cham.
Reports on climate change mitigation indicate that changing main energy sources to clean and renewable energy is the best way to stop using fossil fuels. This indicates technologies like solar, wind, wave, tidal, and geothermal power. A warmer climate increased public health challenges like heat-aggravated illnesses, increase in vector-borne diseases, and decreased access to safe water and food. Cutting short-lived climate pollutants can slow the rate of warming and lower public health risk. These issues worry the United Nations as climate issues have always been a center for discussion in every general meeting. Taking stock of recent climate events, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said no country or economy is immune to climate crisis.
A third of Pakistan flooded. Europe's hottest summer in 500 years. The Philippines hammered. The whole of Cuba in blackout. And here in the United States, Hurricane Ian has delivered a brutal reminder that no country and no economy is immune from the climate crisis.
The UN boss said the world is in life or death struggle for its safety today and survival tomorrow.
The collective commitments of G20 governments are coming far too little and far too late. The actions of the wealthiest developed and the emerging economies simply don't add up. Taken together, current pledges and policies are shutting the door on our chance to limit global temperature rise to 2 degrees Celsius, let alone meet the 1.5 degree goal. We are in a life or death struggle for our own safety today and our survival tomorrow.
Secretary General Guterres urged leaders to take full part in COP27 and tell the world what climate action they will take nationally and globally. Leaders of the world can demonstrate through their presence and active participation that climate action truly is the top global priority that it must be. The UN boss also highlighted the need for meaningful progress in addressing loss and damage beyond adaptation, as well as finance for climate action. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
The United Nations Secretary General there encouraging world leaders to up their game in the fight against the growing effects of climate change. Now, elsewhere in the African continent, citizens, including business owners in Zimbabwe, have been expressing concern over frequent power outages in the country, which, according to them, has been disrupting their activities. The country's electricity transmission and distribution company said the electricity cuts were caused by a disturbance on a high-voltage transmission line. Plans to improve the country's electricity power supply have since begun, which is expected to address the long-standing energy crisis faced by the population. Here's more details of that in this report.
Henry Maronga has had 2 consecutive days with power and is working flat out to deliver an overdue order, part of a piling backlog caused by crippling power outages of about 12 hours per day.
We are 48 hours behind schedule. And I hope that they understand that we have had some electrical problems as a nation.
The rolling power cuts peaked during the last week of September due to a technical fault at the Hwange thermal power plant, which curtailed already limited supply. The outages were devastating for Maronga.
We could go for days and we would just sit and, we'll be losing money. For the past 2-3 days we have had electricity and we seem to be doing well. But still, it's not guaranteed. And for us to have comfort, we then need to have generators. And one generator comes with a leg and an arm. These things are not cheap at all. We need big generators, and we're talking of a budget of $1,000 to $1,500 for a generator.
He's appealing for state support.
We would want, government to set up a fund or policy to help small industries. Maybe it could be a generator, scheme or something like that, to just cushion the burden, the pain that small startup companies are having.
There is light at the end of the tunnel, though, for hard-hit businesses. On Tuesday, state media reported that the upgrade of Zimbabwe's main thermal power plant in Hwange is on course, with one of the 2 new furnaces that are being installed there set to start feeding the national grid as early as November. The $1.4 billion upgrade will produce 600 megawatts of electricity, which will help to bridge a deficit between supply and consumption that currently stands at about 700 megawatts.
And that power supply related report there is coming from the Zimbabwean capital, Harare. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Eyeafrica TV, and we are coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And with that report there, we now take a break and come back shortly. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and this is Eyeafrica TV, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. And once again, many thanks for joining us. Now, GTTI Annex in Mansa-Kanko, Lower River region, has been revitalized after rehabilitation and re-equipment of the training center under the TechIFI project. TechIFI partners had an audience with the center managers to underscore life after the rehabilitation of the center. Moses Imendi tells us more in this report.
This is the convoy departing the GTTI Annex in Mansa-Kanko Lower River region, where the implementing partners had a conversation about the general operation of the training institute since its rehabilitation and re-equipment under the TechIFI program. The training institute draws access to technical and vocational education closer to students from the Lower River region and places nearby. More than €500,000 were spent on the rehabilitation and re-equipment of the training center that now runs a solar, rural mechanic and construction programs with fully equipped electrical and rural mechanic workshops for students' practicals. Manager of the GTTI Offshoot Center, Wandifa Fati, speaks on the transformation of the center.
There has been a need for rehabilitation of the entire center. People who left the center 6 years ago, when they visit today, they ask us, have you got angels from heaven to help you do the work? But it's courtesy of my gallant staff and the giant partnership we have from TechIFI and the entire team.
Mr. Fati says the center offers quality TVET education and has a furnished student residence capable of housing up to 80 students. However, priority is set on students from far places. The training center graduated 4 batches since the TechIFI support, with 70 students being the latest, some of whom are now operating workshops in the region.
Today, most of them, when they come here, they live here a quarter before going to visit in their homes. Most of them come here, they live 4 or 5 to a room to sit together because they are able to get the support from the partners. Through that support, they got their school fees paid. They also got their stipends. These stipends are used to take care of their feedings and also to support them in the daily running of the programs. So based on that, they are able to live here. Immediately they live here, they go to serve. Today, I can proudly tell you, go to most part of the country, you find students of Mansa-Kanko doing very well. Today, most of the workshops in summer, when you live here, just try it. The next 2 workshops that you go into, as they will tell you, we are students of Mansa-Kanko, JTTI Mansa-Kanko. Go to Brikamba. You have a very good construction going on at the primary school. To ask them, you have about 3 or 4 students who left here. Go to CHN school today. You find our students there. almost any part of this country you go today, after 5 years, you find our students everywhere.
He said students are groomed in the center with knowledge to fit into the modern day market as technology continues to evolve, and the most outstanding students are given startup capital to build on. Some inventions made by the students of the GTTI Annex in Mansa Konko include a local air conditioner and a chainless bicycle. The GTTI Annex in Mansa Konko was established in 2007. Moses Imende, Eyeafrica News.
And from that report there by Moses Imende, on to our final story now, because Ugandan farmers are increasingly turning towards organic farming since they find the application of such fertilizers as cheap and safe in an effort to save their land from pollution created by chemical fertilizers. Farmers have started keeping natural waste like mango and jackfruit leftovers in identified places, which they kept in drum for a week and then use them as natural manure. Like many food producers, they are hit by global shortages in crop fertilizers caused by sanctions on Russia, climate change effects, among other factors. Let's have more details of that in this report.
This is a badly needed substitute for chemical fertilizers, a mixture of organic waste which is helping to boost Daniel Seremba's maize crops.
I use chicken droppings because they come with a lot of components. Poultry breeders mix soya, cotton flour, salts and snail shells. And when decomposed, the waste material produces enough nitrogen for my crops.
Seremba also adds sand in organic manure to allow for the easy flow of water. The organic manure takes about 6 months to mature. For 2 years now, Seremba has been applying organic manure on his crops, and he's expecting a bumper harvest from this 3-acre plot. Seremba says he adopted this method after chemical fertilizers became unaffordable.
Previously, we were buying a sack of NPK fertilizers at $23, but now it's about $70. So you find that making your own organic manure is better.
Seremba is among a growing number of farmers switching to organic manure. Ecologists have welcomed the move, saying it not only promotes the growing of healthy foods, but also boosts food production.
Other thing is to encourage agroecology. Agroecology, these are better methods of farming which were practiced by our ancestors, our elders, our mothers.
About 70% of Ugandans work in agriculture, but ensuring the steady supply of food is becoming ever more difficult in tough economic times.
And of course, from that inspiring and agriculture-related report from Kampala, Uganda, we eventually now bring this news edition to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and do have a pleasant evening. Bye for now.